just a second.
انت كده
اوكي، شكرا لك. Okay.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Hello.
Hello, Baba.
You have access to the screen sharing, Khalid?
Yes.
Okay. So hello everyone. So today we're gonna start, and Khalid will start, and then Marwa will join. So whenever you are ready, Khalid,
Okay.
please go ahead.
Hello everyone. Lubaba, Umnia, and Tamadur, and Rua Khalid. And our topic for today is how to write an introduction to your research or your research article. In general, the main idea is I found at some resources to make it as inverted triangle, like to start with a broad idea and then to narrow it down to your last statement, something very authoritative or assertive, like your findings. And I found this very condensed, concise, and very informative PDF. It is 9 papers. I think it covers all as part of the research, like how to write it from the title to abstract, introduction, conclusion, and discussions. And I will share it with you on the WhatsApp group. So let us start with introduction. As they stated here, an introduction, it is a scientific or a research article or a paper is a technical or essayistic document that describes significant experimental, theoretical, or observational extension of current knowledge, advances in practical application of known principles. This is the first segment or statement, and it's important to emphasize that a research article should report on research findings that are not only sound, valid, and previously unpublished, but also add some new understanding. Some new understanding, observation, or proofs as like potentially important information. This piece here it's basically like talking about what the literature about the certain topic. We have our main topic, and we look into the literature and what they have and what is the gap in the knowledge. Unlike novel, newspaper, an article, or an essay, a research article require the structure style which is by international consensus known as introduction, method, result, and discussion, or they abbreviate as IMRAD. However, a research article is not only a technically rigid document, but also a subjective intellectual product that unavoidably reflect personal opinions and beliefs. Therefore, it requires good skills in both structuring and phrasing the discoveries and thoughts. These skills are acquired through experience, but can also be taught. Like as you see here, the main point about this, the first paragraph is, or they call it move one, how to introduce your topic, introduce the topic and emphasize why it is important. This is the first step about writing an introduction. The second move, how to relate to the current knowledge. Like you'll search the literature and to identify the current knowledge about a specific area concerning your topic, and also to identify if there's any gap. So many books have been written on general guidelines and rules to help scientists write research articles. These days, many scientific societies and groups write quite detailed publications and style manuals to help both authors and publishers to get along. What used to be short guide for writing a research article has been extended to the level of meso and micro elements of the paper. And various authors have investigated the principles of creating a good title, writing a good abstract or introduction. Some go to the level of microstructure of a research article and provide framework for logical structure between the words. However, writing a research article is still a monkey puzzle tree, especially if you are a non-native English speaker. What makes a good paper and which rules of thumb are the most important for these researchers. So our move here in this paragraph, what has been done and what need to be done. This is the main idea about this, or in summary, we can say bring the gap, like what the gap existed in the current knowledge and how we can close that gap, or how can we can identify it. The third move is introduce your work and give the purpose and the main objectives. Following this question, we try to formulate some rule of thumbs for easier writing, or better to say publishing of research articles. And these rules gathered from discussion during scientific writing for non-native English speaker course, but also come from our personal experience with scientific writing. The main idea was to summarize main conclusions from these discussions and bring them all together in a form of a paper. In summary, my understanding to this topic, you introduce your topic of your research and emphasize why this is important, and you need to use a certain language, and also to be very precise about how you're introducing this and how to captivate your reader from the beginning to read your introduction. And the second move is how to relate your title to the current knowledge. And the third move, to identify what has been done concerning this particular topic and what need to be done, or to identify a gap in the knowledge, and to see if your current research could bridge this gap or could add something to this lack of knowledge in this area. And at the same time, to introduce your work and the purpose and what your objective of doing this research or this study for this area. And they call it, to write the introduction, they call it like a formula of inverted triangle. Like you start from a broad idea and then you narrow it down till you reach your objective, or the purpose and the main objective of your study. I have 1 second. I have a research introduction that maybe we can see it together, and we can see how this different part of the introduction written.
So until Khalid bring the other sample up, so to summarize or to focus, highlight the points. This is an excellent paper, excellent presentation and summarize of how to write the introduction. And I think this is one of the most key point or key part in your article when you're writing the article. For me, as an example, we wrote an article recently and published. I'm non-native speaker, so my English is not the best. But what I did is I tried to put the skeleton similar to what Khalid was mentioned. So you come up with what's your idea, what's your objective. Last sentence here, move 3. So let's say my idea was to see about how to use application by an older adults, what they think about an application or using technology, for instance, just in general. To come to this conclusion, I have to go back and see what's current, what's going on in as a broad picture. So we have to make a statement that technology is important, for instance, or older adults are increasing in numbers. This is why it's important to talk about something that combined both of them. In our paper, we looked at that first. Then we identified the gap where the problem is. What the literature show that do the older adults use technology or not, something in that sense. And then you come to see or say, oh, our article will talk about what the roadblocks, what the problems that older adults see in using technology. And then this is the problem, how we can solve the problem, how we can address this issue. So there are certain ideas or thoughts of handling this in the future. We can develop apps that address this one by one, something like that. So in this way, Khalid make it very easy. It's just 3 moves: move 1, move 2, move 3. In my thoughts, when I'm like thinking or talking about this, I talk about what's the general background, what's going on as a general background. And then you go down and then identify the component where you want to talk about, and then identify the gap. So it's kind of similar to the inverted triangle or the three steps Khalid mentioned. This is a really good paper, Khalid. Thank you for bringing sharing it with us.
Yes, and also I think I'm not sure if Marwa is here, because also she has very nice slides about the main topic.
So if you have the sample that or the example, that would be great. Otherwise, you can share it after Marwa. I think Marwa is still here.
Okay, very good.
Marwa, if you are ready, if you want to share your screen, and then
hello
Khalid
everyone.
Hello.
Thank you, Khalid. Can you just add me as a co-host?
Oh yes, sure.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry. Sorry, accidentally I unmute you. Okay. All right, you're ready now.
So hello everyone. Thank you for attending today and for joining us in this presentation. And thank you, Khalid, for helping me preparing this presentation about how to write the introduction or the introductory session in a scientific paper. So the first thing that I'm going to start with is the basic structure of a paper, what we call an IMRAD model. And this is one of the main objectives that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk also about how to write an introduction and some writing and grammar tips, as well as the resources that can help you improve your writing skills. So I'm just gonna start by a brief background. What IMRAD stands for? The I stands for the introduction, which is why this question? Why are we doing this research? And the method actually represents why we are doing it, and the results, what did we do, and what are the findings that we found. And finally, the discussion part, which might that mean, like we compare to previous researches and draw conclusion from our study that we made. So just like you might be wondering, who are these people? The first one is Louis Pasteur, and he is thought to be one of the first scientists who used the IMRAD structure in writing his scientific work. And the other one is Sir Austin Bradford Hill, which worked for BMJ, the British Medical Journal, and he was the one who made actually this concept famous. And this is like the IMRAD structure actually is used now in most or almost, like I would say, the majority of the biomedical journals. So this structure is actually not an arbitrary publication format, but actually a reflection of the process of scientific discovery. So you like everyone who worked hard into putting a lot of effort into a research project, and like in some instances they actually go through lab and a lot of work. So you would like to put your work in a structure that is easy for everyone to understand and to get to the main points of your work. So some articles might need subheadings inside these major components. And another thing is that not all the published papers follow this format. For example, meta-analysis might use a slightly different format, and also some case reports and narrative reviews and editorials actually might not be as structured as the general research paper using the same format that we just said. So to start with, like, what is the introduction? Why do we write the introductory part in the research? So the introduction provides the reader with the background information on the research topic. And it's just like few sentences that just introduces the reader to the topic and actually tell them about the gap that Khalid mentioned in the knowledge and the importance of our paper that we're going to be introducing, which is filling that gap. So I would say the rest of this is just like the same as what Khalid mentioned already. So here comes like two main questions the introduction actually tries to answer. What are we doing, and why should I care about that? So the introduction inform the reader of as to what the paper is about and motivate the reader actually to continue reading it. So you might think this is just like a part where you add a couple of review of the literature together and just like have this so-called part or required part of a research. That's not the purpose of the introduction. The introduction actually you are trying to draw the attention of the reader to actually read the rest of your article or paper. So you need to state clearly that this research that we did is important, and we should like have an idea about what is important about this by stating the gap and saying that we're gonna fill in that gap. So the aim of the introduction is to, as we said, highlight the current knowledge and fill in that gap. And this is done usually by progressively more specific paragraphs that culminate in a clear exposition of what is lacking in the literature, followed by a paragraph summarizing what the paper does to fill that gap. The gap statement set the reader's expectation for what the paper will deliver. And the structure of the introduction, except the last paragraph, served the goal of developing the gap. So initially, the first sentence that you put is actually stating the just briefly the current knowledge, and then you work on setting the floor to the reader to see what is the gap that is present at the moment. And in that manner, actually, sometimes you can say what summarize what other studies have found so far, and that's why where is the gap in these studies. And then final part is going to actually say the thing that you did to fill in that gap. So so I just like just one thing to say that at the last paragraph you can use sentences like we hypothesize that, and we tested the hypothesis, or we asked whether or we answer this question. This can be like just some of the thing that you can use, or the purpose of this study is to solve this problem, or we solve this problem by saying so and so. This is just like suggestion of what you can mention to say that you are going to fill in that gap. So this is just briefly similar to what Khalid said. You start with the very big background information, and then you narrow it down to the objective of your study. Okay. I'm gonna just highlight a few tips about how to write the introduction. So the introduction roughly is just like 2 to 5 paragraphs. It shouldn't be more than that. And in most cases, like about 3 paragraphs. And the paragraphs actually shouldn't be long, okay? And you just try to write the introduction to a general audience. So in that, so to do that, you try to avoid technical details and put that part in the materials and methods. And also, this is just like I found this point to be controversial in many texts and literature, that what should I include, like a final conclusion or result or implication about the study or not. Many people say that you just hint towards what you're going to do or like the main thing, but you don't actually put the results of what you have done in the introduction. Otherwise, nobody's gonna read the rest of it. So you do not answer the research question, you just set up the research question. And finally, You're going to summarize the previous literature, as I said, just at a high level. You don't mention, you do not need to mention a specific study like, for example, John et al. Or something. You don't need to mention the name of the studies. You can always use citation, okay, to refer to that specific studies and just like summarize briefly. A couple of studies found that this and that, and other studies were controversing that effect and said this and this. So why, this is why we did this study and this is what we found. So it is just like, in summary, if you would like to say what the introduction that you have written, is it a good one or not? Try to see if it answers these questions. Is there a clear and unambiguous question or problem statement? This is the most important thing about the introduction. Do we tackle that thing or not? Is there a brief summary of what is already known on the topic? Are, as we said, this is the first part that we should write. Are key terms defined using authoritative sources? And is there a clear and unambiguous thesis statement, the main message of the whole paper? And has the importance of the paper been made clear or not? So I'm going to give you an example. I know Khalid already did. So this is just like a brief example to say, to like the thing that I was saying is just like sounds, yeah, you might not make sense of it unless you see some example in front of you. So I'm going to read this example and highlight the main points that the author mentioned here. So unsolicited and unwanted spam electronic invitations to speak at or attend conferences or to write for or edit journals are a burgeoning aspect of academic life. Colleagues regard such invitations with worry, amusement, intense frustration, or resignation. Two of us have reviewed travel grant applications from colleagues who received spam invitations to give conference presentations. So as you can see in the first part, he laid the ground by mentioning the just brief description about what is a problem, which is electronic invitation and unwanted electronic academic spam. And then in just one sentence, he elicited the gap that is present. Few studies have focused on academic spam, and that's why where his study comes to be important. And this is how he states that what they did. We investigated the amount, relevance, content, and suppressibility of academic emails. It's just like two paragraphs, and the first one states clearly the present knowledge about the topic, and then here he states the gap, and then the last sentence actually just set the ground for what we expect from his study. So also an important thing to do that in order to write a good introduction, you have to go back to the literature and actually do a good literature search in order to write a good introduction. So you need to utilize online databases. You can also, it's good to have a search strategy and have an organized system where you, as we said, you implement all the things that we said earlier, summarize previous conclusions, and you can refer the readers to general surveys that can help them understand the topic in a broader aspect. And also, as we said, cite references and try not to use a lot of references. So I would like just to say a few points about how you can write a good introduction or write a good manuscript in general. Just some tips here. So first, an important thing is that especially in scientific literature and when you are trying to publish a paper, you need to be very concise and to the point, okay? And any unnecessary word or phrase, don't hesitate to take it out, because there is always a way to undo or press Control and Z and you have it back. this is very important, I think, because you most of the time you have word limits, and I guess most of you remember this when we were trying to submit to American Geriatric Society. They had a limit of even character, even with the spaces. So you have to be very concise, and you actually utilize the words, the number of words effectively. And also an important thing is that is always preferred to use active voice, especially in the introduction and the results and in the discussion part of the study, because there are many advantages I'm going to say about the active voice. It's when you use active voice, actually you take responsibility of what you are writing. And also it's eliminates any ambiguity or clarity and clarity in the writing. So it's always clear, more clear to write in active voice rather than in passive voice. The only part where passive voice is permitted to be used in the methodology part, because it's difficult to write. It's going to be somewhat repetitive trying to write the methodology in an active voice. So most of the time, they say in most literature, the passive voice is used in the methodology part. But regarding the other parts of the paper, it's preferred to use active voice. And also another tip is to use strong verbs and avoid turning verbs into nouns, and avoid to be verbs because they are not strong as strong as other verbs. So try to use strong verbs. And there is like a common say that verbs must move sentences along, whereas nouns slows readers down. So when you use a verb, and a very strong and active verb, it always implies, I would say, more strength to what you are saying rather than using nouns. And also, when you use the right strong verbs, you can also eliminate the need for using adverbs, which might not be necessary. As I said, any word that can be cut from your work, just do it. Like these adverbs, you can be like very, I would say people like feel like they need to use them, but actually you don't, most of the time at least. Also, there is another tip that I found in one of the papers is that, especially in the methodology part, as we said, you can use, I know I'm jumping here to methodology, but this is an important thing. When you are writing, try to stick to one formula, either active or passive. Don't jump from active to passive and then back to active, because it creates unclarity, and it can create some confusion other to which, who did this, who did that. So it's going to be very, it's going to make the whole thing unclear. So stick to one thing. As I said, you can use passive voice in methodology only, or mainly. Also try to avoid boring your reader by making the thing that you write very engaging, lively, and interesting. I think this comes with practice, and some people might have some ways or some style in writing. But it's not necessary to have that kind of talent or skill actually to write a good scientific paper. They say a good paper. You don't have to be a good writer to write a good scientific paper. You just need to be a careful writer. So if you stick to the format that is already present and stick to certain things that make your text clear, to the point, you cannot go wrong. And if you have a way of engaging the readers more, that would be even better. Another thing is that try to avoid using acronyms as much as you can, because unless you are using like standard ones like DNA, RNA, in any part of your writing, actually, unless it is a standard, try to avoid using it. Sometimes there might be like a very long term, and you can't write it all the time, so you need to write it first, the whole sentence, or the whole I would say words, and then write the acronym, and you can repeat the acronym afterwards. but you cannot introduce an acronym that is unknown just from the start without telling the people what it stands for. Also, an important thing while writing is try to avoid distance between subject and the main verb. I think we have an example about that that can help make the point more clear. As I said, the importance of using active voice. And okay, so I have just few examples that can help you understand the whole theory that I was talking about. So, and in this example, this is one of the texts in literature, and will show you how it was edited. The WHO reports that approximately 2/3 of the world diabetics are found in developing countries, and estimates that the number of diabetics in these countries will double in the next 25 years. So we can notice here that it reports that approximately. So there can be another word that can summarize this verb and actually imply the meaning without having to use 3 words here by saying estimate. But instead of saying report that approximately, you can say the WHO estimates that 2/3 of the world diabetics are found in developing countries. And you can see here, everyone tries to avoid the repetition. So actually in this case, also an estimate that the number of diabetics in these countries will double. So you can say this estimation is going to happen in the future. And here you can use another verb that can imply the meaning without having to say in the future, like a thing that implies a whole meaning and give you variety, and projects that the number of diabetics in these countries will double in the next 25 years. Okay, so this is just an example. It's a long one, but just like I just would like to say, if I read it, you're not going to understand much of what I'm saying, but I'm going to read it quickly. One study of 930 adults with multiple sclerosis receiving care, and one or two of two managed care settings, or in free of service, I believe, setting, found that only 2/3 of these needing to contact a neurologist for an MS-related problem in the prior 6 months had done so. So it's like I would say I would agree with you if you're thinking that I didn't understand what she was saying, because there is a long gap between the subject and the verb. So this makes it more difficult for anyone to understand what the writer was trying to say. So just like briefly, you can say, one study found that blah, blah, blah. So this is just really an important point to mention here to make your point clear and understandable. Try to write the verb just close to the subject. Try to avoid any distance between the two. This is just an example to show you, I don't know, like the same concept. So it's a long one. The lower external joint movements at the knee and hip joints, the lower mechanical work and the knee at the knee joint during stance, the lower energy loss in the prosthetic ankle joint, and the lower total body mechanical work in each ground contact leads to the assumption that running is blah, blah, blah. So it's just like long sentence. You're not gonna understand anything. You're gonna be looking at the verb. So instead of this, you need to actually put the verb and the subject next to each other and avoid any unnecessary sentences in the middle. I'm just gonna add just few grammar tips when writing, just to pay attention. For example, we use the word data in a lot of our work, so you just notice that the word data is actually plural, and when we say the data show that, not shows, for example, because it's plural, not singular. And also certain words that can be look similar, but they have different meaning, like affect and effect. Okay, affect is a verb and effect is a noun. Apart from one exception that you can know in psychiatry, where affect is actually a noun. But overall, you just pay attention to these words, because when you are writing, you're not gonna have an autocorrection, because this is like a word already, unless you're using like some programs like Grammarly or anything just to edit your work. You might not pay attention to such slight mistakes. And also, this is something that we use most of the time, is comparison when writing a paper. So when you are comparing to like things that are similar, you use compare to, while when you are comparing things that are different, you use compare with. So in science, most of the time, or in writing papers, we use compare with rather than compare to. So just these are some of the websites that can offer you guidance on writing papers, what is allowed, what is not allowed. Okay, and just like a brief description of like guidelines in writing, for example, duplication, plagiarism, something like this. So you can turn to these websites for more information. And also, I wanted just to give you a few resources that can help you improve. I know what we tried our best to give you like an introduction to the topic of writing, but I think I found these resources to be helpful. This is like at the BMJ website, they have actually a project called Research to Publication. They have different stages of research writing until the publication process, and they have modules and videos about each of them that can be really helpful. I'm not sure if it's open source or not. I tried it myself. I created an account, but I had some technical difficulty. So just try it, and hopefully it can be of benefit. Another one is a course by Stanford University. You can find it in Coursera, called Writing in the Sciences. So this is one of the thing was said by Matthew Arnold about style in writing. As I said, each one like tries to make their work memorable, and they have their own style. But he said, have something to say and say it as clearly as you can. That is the only secret of style. So just this summarizes or just highlight the importance of having a clear point and communicating that point clearly as you can. This is the most important aspect, especially in scientific writing. These are the references that I used to prepare the slides. You can actually go back to them and find even more points about the other parts of the research paper. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marwa, and also thank you, Khalid. Both of your presentation are great and concise and to the point. So I really appreciate the hard work that you did, and thank you for sharing all these tips and how to. I hope this will be helpful to the rest of us. Any questions in addition? Khalid, if you are ready to share this sample or example, that would be great. Otherwise, we can open the floor for discussion or addition comments.
Okay. Maybe I can share this.
In the meantime, maybe Roa, if you have question, you can ask, and then Lubaba after that.
Thank you, Marwa and Khalid, for this great presentation. It was really helpful and informative. And thank you, Marwa, for the last part of the presentation, the writing tips and the grammar tips. I think this is going to be very helpful in the next few months in this fellowship. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Go ahead, Khalid, and then Lubabe can ask after he's finished.
This is an introduction for the effect of COVID-19 on youth mental health. I tried to find something very like similar to our research about the COVID-19 and the effect on depression. Here's introduction, and I don't remember if Marwa mentioned it or I mentioned it. Usually, the introduction they said it is the best between 1.5 to 2 pages. And here is this introduction. So I will read it quickly so we can just cover like the four main questions Marwa mentioned, how to evaluate if your introduction is good, or answer the main questions that the introduction is supposed to answer. So in late December 2019, patient in Wuhan, China reported having viral pneumonia due to an unknown microbial pathogen. A new coronavirus was subsequently identified as the pathogen and was temporarily named COVID-19 new coronavirus. On January 2020, WHO announced that emergence of a new coronavirus was a public health emergency of international concern. Infectious diseases have become one of major health threat to global public health in the 21st century. Such diseases impact both physical and mental physical health and mental health. As of February 2020, thousands of people have been confirmed to be infected with COVID-19, leading to 2,004 deaths across 13 provinces in mainland China. The outbreak of COVID-19 in China caused public panic and mental health stress, with increasing number of cases being diagnosed and some countries appearing to have confirmed cases and public concern about the infection. I think the first paragraph is try to have the broad idea or the COVID-19, and then it is impact on the mental and physical health. So they started with a broad description to the problem. The second paragraph, many studies have demonstrated impact of infectious disease outbreak on public mental health, such as severe acute respiratory syndrome in 2003 and 2009 novel influenza H1N1 epidemic. These types of pandemic lead to public experience psychological problems such as post-traumatic stress disorder, psychological distress, depression, and anxiety. And some studies have shown that post-traumatic stress disorder is closely related to depression and other psychological problems, according to a theoretical model developed by Ehlers and Clark. After experiencing traumatic event, individual may make a negative assessment of trauma, and it is sequelae. In this way, they may easily to adopt maladaptive strategies to maintain post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms, such as invasion, arousal symptoms, and strong negative emotions. Therefore, this study assumes that youth groups may have a tendency to develop psychological problems after experiencing traumatic stress disorder. And as you notice here, the theme of the second paragraph is try to address the current knowledge about the topic by citing these 5 or 6 studies. And through my reading of the literatures, the authors, the expert usually hit to see many citations in the introduction, and I think here there are many citations. The third paragraph, studies have shown that effective coping strategies can protect individuals from mental health problems when facing emergencies, but the coping styles can be divided into positive and negative subclasses or subscales. Multiple studies have shown that the relationship between negative coping styles and depression, such as that the use of avoiding and negative coping styles is related to psychological problems such as depression. For example, the 5 to 8 weeks after September 11, 2001, 28.8% of respondents reported consuming more tobacco and alcohol and marijuana. These negative responses were the main predictors of psychological distress, such as depression and anxiety and stress. However, few studies have considered the psychological impact of negative coping strategy on use during public health emergencies. As you can notice from this third paragraph, they also tried to address the current knowledge and also the gap. There are few studies. If you see here, there are few studies have considered psychological impact of negative coping strategy on use during public health emergencies. So there is a gap in studies concerning psychological impact on use. The last paragraph, in this study, we aim to examine the extent to which use groups were prone to psychological problems due to COVID-19 and to explore the correlation between, I don't know what this abbreviation, and this is also one of the negative things they mention, like do not have abbreviation in your introduction unless it is globally known abbreviation. So in this study, we aim to examine the extent to which use groups were prone to psychological problems due to COVID-19 and to explore correlation between GHQ and post-traumatic stress disorder, negative coping styles, and socio-demographic variables. In addition, we explore the factors affecting the mental health of use groups and provide suggestions for intervention in the mental health of use groups. Here they narrow down, they come from like broad or from their topic, and they narrow it down till they clearly stated their objectives and their intent. I think in general, I will say it answer the 4 questions. To my knowledge or my understanding about this introduction thing, they have many citations in introduction and also they use abbreviations. Other than that, I don't have any comment. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Khalid, for using this paper as an example. And it clearly showed the steps or the idea of using some paragraph to show what you are talking about in general. Then you do the literature review to bring what's going on in the literature and identify the gap and then try to summarize. And regarding the last part, the AGH12, yes, it's not advisable to use abbreviation unless it's well known. Sometimes if the article is mentioned in this case to or submitted to a certain area of let's say psychiatric journal, then it's acceptable for them to use common phrases or abbreviation that are well known in the field. So for this mental state exam, MMSE, in neurology, they use it a lot. So when you say it, everyone knows it. For surgeon, they will be like, what MMS is something, it doesn't make sense to them. So if you are publishing in neurology journal, it may make sense to use a verb that, or abbreviation that's well known without addressing like it. But in general, the rule is if you are using abbreviation, the first time you mention it in your, let's say, introduction or any part of the body of the article, you have to put it in bracket and you have to write before it what the letters stands for. Similar to the, I think in this example, they mentioned 2 or 3 abbreviation. One of them is, let's say, WHO. They put the actual word before the abbreviation. So that's very important. But thank you so much, Khalid and Marwa, for the concise and important topic. and good presentation. Thanks. Two have questions, Lubaba and then Khalid Osman. Lubaba, go ahead. Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. I just want to comment about the presentation. It's a really great presentation. I really appreciate the tips at the end. I apologize at the beginning. I had some connection issue. I didn't attend the whole presentation, but it's really great and on the point. Something that I found very amazing is like using the word compare to and compare with. So I never thought about it before. So that's great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Go ahead, Khalid, and then Omnia.
Yes, thank you both, Marwa and Khalid. I've watched a lot of video lectures on how to write your paper on YouTube. I think this is by far the best I've ever viewed. And I also liked that, or it's fairly new to me, that I should not jump from active to passive voice in the paper. I can only use passive methodology. I think that's a great tip. I did not know that. And I also have two questions. The first one is, what sources can I use as references? Which sources can I cite from my paper other than primary research? And the second question is in the use of abbreviations. Can I use an abbreviation that is fairly common in my title, for example, COVID-19, or should I write the full name?
Marwa or Khalid, if you want to answer, and then I'll follow. Thank you,
Okay.
Khalid, for the question. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for the questions, Khalid. And I really feel flattered that you say this was really helpful, one of the best things that you said. So I'm glad that it was helpful. And regarding the first question, what I know other than research, primary research that is done, you can refer to articles, editorials that was mentioned, and even like some textbooks. This is just to my knowledge, but I don't know more, and maybe Dr. Nader have maybe a far better idea about that, but this is just like as far as I know. Regarding the other question, using of abbreviations, if it's like a well-known something that is used commonly and everyone like just generally understand the meaning of it, there is no problem in using it. It's like, for example, like I give an example, like for example, microRNA. Some people would say mRNA. So it's like RNA is an abbreviation in itself. So they made an abbreviation of an abbreviation, like they abbreviated term of like sub abbreviation of something that is known, for example. So it's not very advisable since it's like not, it's like clear, like it wouldn't be a problem adding just few words instead of abbreviating something in a way that is not known to anyone and would make it like difficult to read. So the point is to make things clear and to avoid any I would say like ambiguity in the text or in the paper that you are writing. So if it's something that is well known like COVID-19, you can go ahead and use it. There is no problem with that. And as Dr. Nader said, and as I mentioned earlier, if you are, for example, introducing a term, especially in like some research that is dependent on lab or techniques or something like this, if you're introducing something and it's like a really long thing, okay, and it's difficult to repeat it, there is no problem in using it as long as you, in the first time you mention it, you mention the full term and you mention the abbreviation between brackets, so the reader would understand what the meaning of that term or the meaning of that acronym when you refer to it later on and in your topic. So it's just like something, a general rule. It's not like you are not supposed to use abbreviations, unknown abbreviations whatsoever. No, you can use it, but try to overdo it, if I can say, or unless it's necessary, or unless it's gonna make your article more or paper more clear to use it just in the acronym. I hope that answered your questions.
Well, that's very clear. Thank you.
I will add just 2 points to what Marwa said. It is advisable to use less citations, like as much as possible to minimize your citations. And I found in some literature that the best strategy to avoid this is to try to search the literature with the main keywords that's similar to your title of your paper to address. So you will find these articles or knowledge, and then you will cite it. So it will cover like it pinpoint your questions and it have something similar. So by this way, you will have less citations instead of searching broad knowledge. So you need to, in this way, you will find yourself citing many resources. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Khalid, for the question, and Marwan, Khalid, for the great answer. I just want to also add that when you are writing, sometimes you targeting a certain journal, for example. So most of the journal, they have a section where they mention it to the authors. So it's the guideline to the authors where you will find how you write your titles, how you write your what they expect from you writing introduction or writing methods out, or let's say how to do your references, which type of formatting you want to do. And one of them is they may mention what type of references they will accept and how you can put that in your reference list. Some accept like websites as a reference, some don't. Some, as Khaled and Marwa mentioned, maybe certain books or and other journal. So you can put that in your mind when you are writing to check with the journal before you submit your abstract of the paper for the manuscript for publication. Is you want to follow their guidelines. Similar way to when we submit it to the AGS, they want us to limit the abstract to a certain number of words. So certain number of graphs, let's say, something like that, tables. So there is some way of guiding you. So that might be helpful. Thank you. Does it make sense, Khalid Osman?
Yes, that is very clear.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Omnia, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Khalid and Marwa, for your efforts. Great presentation. I just wanted to add that in introduction, what we do, as Khalid demonstrated, is we use the deductive.
Omnia, maybe if the voice kind of comes and goes a little bit, so the mic might be a little bit far from you.
Um, no?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, because I'm on call today, so I just have my laptop. I don't have my mic. So I said it's a great presentation, Khalid and Marwa. You put a lot of effort in it, and for the introduction, usually it's called the deductive method. We start big, and then we start to break down the points until we identify the knowledge gap. Then we explain why we want to understand this knowledge gap and why it wants a lot of study. On the other hand, in the discussion, what we use is the inductive method. We start with our results, then we generalize the knowledge, and we conclude by opening another topic for further research in the same subject. So the introduction is deductive and the other one is inductive. It's the other way around.
Excellent. Thank you, Omnia, for the addition. Thanks. That's great. Any other question, or Ali, you have a comment or question? Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi everyone, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Yes. First, I would like to thank both Khalid and Marwa for the great presentation. It's really an important topic, and I think you covered it well. Thank you. I have a question regarding keywords. I think you mentioned it briefly. So if you can talk more about the keywords, what are the importance of when I'm writing a paper? So is it a must to write at the end of introduction, I think, right? Or where should I write it? And what is the importance of it to both for me as a writer and the reader? Thank you.
Go ahead, Marwa or Khalid, if you want to go with the answer, and then I will follow.
Okay. Thank you, Ali, Umni, and Khalid for the questions. About the keywords, it is not part of the introduction, but it is part of the paper itself. Like from the title to abstract, and then you will put your keywords, and then you go to the introduction, in stepwise fashion. And I have very good resources, and I will share it with you. Like they going step by step, I think up to 29 steps, how to to start your writing. But to my knowledge, it is not in our introduction part, or maybe Dr. Nadir and Marwa can talk more about this point. Thank you.
Honestly, during my search, it didn't find any mention of keywords regarding as part of introduction. So I believe, as Khalid said, it's just part of the whole paper itself. But I believe that the function of the keywords is to just to guide you what are the the main things, the main focus or theme of the whole paper. Like if you find these specific words, these are the thing that you are actually find the paper is talking about. It's just like I would say summary of the summary. Like I think this is the purpose of it. But I'm not so sure.
Agree with you, both Khalid and Marwa. Thank you, Ali, for the question. So the main idea of the keyword is, as Marwa said, for you and the journal to talk into terms of, let me know your paper in 3 words or in 5 words, something like, just tell me what's the topic about and what area and what the meat in a and they tell you maybe we can accept 3 keywords or 6 keywords, something like that in the author guidelines they mention about the keyword. The other part of it is for the outsider, the people who are reading or searching for an answer. So your article is supposed to be generalizable or beneficial to some other people, right? So these people out there, they want to search. So how do they search and find your article? This is how to help them identify your article. So if you want to focus in my condition, for example, I want them to focus on geriatric, so I will use older adults. So anyone will look or search for older adults, they have a great chance to come across my paper. I might use technology. So anyone interested in technology in general, they may come across and see my paper. You know what I'm saying? So these are the keywords. So to limit your article, so it will be searchable and discoverable by anyone who is interested in the area or that field or that subject. It's just an easy way for them to, for Google, for instance, or for PubMed to, for the search machine to engine to find your paper in the search. Thank you. Good question. Any other questions or any comments? That's a really great presentation and great questions. I really appreciate your input and your sharing. Thank you. If you have any questions, you can interrupt or you can ask during the next section. I hear some voice there.
I
All right,
wanted to
go ahead,
add just one
Marwa.
point before we close this. I think it's just like a relevant point.
Mhm.
It's about like just to how to write like a make the summary, like the introduction actually like really brief. Is that if you're, for example, talking about the relationship between smoking and breast cancer, for example, you don't you shouldn't start by saying smoking and how why smoking is bad and breast cancer and why breast cancer has like a lot of health implications. You start directly to the topic, the researches or the literature that covered the association or the relationship between the two. So like I know it's just like you start from a wide thing and then you go back, but you go down. But actually, like just especially in this, maybe it's the second paragraph when you are introducing the gap, you start specifically with the thing in mind. You're studying association between the two, so you list the things that are relevant from the literature regarding that specific thing, not a general thing, and then go downwards. Thanks.
Thank you, Marwa, for adding that point. And one other point I want just to mention, in general, in writing, you will not write something and you will be content with it from the first time. So to get a style to make things, as Khalid or Marwa mentioned, writing is, you can teach it and you can get taught, but if you don't practice and revise, you write and then rewrite and then change, and then you come to the final manuscript or final piece. Even when you are done with your final piece, when you submit it to the journal, they have a reviewer or a couple of reviewers. They will look at it and then they will give you feedback on the same things that Marwa and Khalid mentioned. If you are talking in general about something, they will say, "Hey, why you wrote this? It's not important for the general population." Or if you are talking about certain topic, they will say, "What's is known on this topic? What are you trying to add? Where is the gap?" Something like they want you to very concisely address the way Khalid had mentioned in the introduction, the steps or the moves. So to accomplish that, you need to write, rewrite until you finally give yourself the final version, and then you submit that. So it's a process. Thank you. If there is no other questions, we can move to the next section or part. Any news about the interviews? Any tips? Anything anyone wants to share during the last few days, weeks? Any news? So step 2 is out of the way, or CK, or you know that.
Yes.
Yes.
But they are introducing, or they already started the, it's like the TOEFL, the English language test. You already did that, or?
I think they said that they will introduce clinical skills and communication skills. In step 1, step 2, and step 3. They will distribute it, I think, across the steps.
The steps, okay. All right, I wish good luck to the ones who are taking it in the future. Any other points you want to share? Any news? If any, you can just jump in. We can go to the next part about the abstract. So we have a good news. I got an email yesterday from Amanda that another abstract was accepted. So now we have two, one for the depression and the other one is for the case. So good luck. That's a good thing. So if there is a project leader and the team, try to work on, if you need help, let me know. We can work on that. How you start with a slide PowerPoint so that it's going to be virtual, and then identify who will be talking about what part and divide that into the team, and then practice and practice. Does that make sense, guys? I did not hear from AGS as of yet. And Marwa asked good question about, do we need to remove that from AGS when accepted the case? I was struggling with that, so I'm not sure how to approach that. By this time, I think it's already out. If they accept it, they will give it to a reviewer or two. They will look at it and then they will give feedback. So I might send them an email telling them that this paper was accepted in a different society, and see if they can consider that to be enough to withdraw it. If they accept it, that's well and good. If they didn't bother or they review it and it didn't cross their level of acceptance, then it won't matter if we say withdraw or keep, because they are not interested in it. The problem will be if they are interested and we already submitted to AMDA and it's be accepted in 2 places. So sometimes things happen, but hopefully we change the title so that doesn't cross. It's not going to be the same paper or abstract. The idea might be similar, but the title might be different.
May
It's
I
a
add
difficult
something?
situation. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please.
Honestly, I looked at the AGS website. They don't mention any specifics, but they are mentioning that they follow the guidelines of the biomedical journals. That is like, I don't memorize the name of the website. I provided it in the resources or in the guidance. So in that site, actually, I went back and I read about the duplicates and duplication. So they say if the article or the paper was actually, for example, like what's presented in a scientific meeting and not actually fully printed or something like this, the journal has the, I would say, they have the choice either to accept putting it in their AGS, in the journal, or not. So given the fact that from what I understand, they send us like it's going to be a poster presentation, it's going to be a live session. I don't think there's going to be a print of that, of the case itself. So I think the best thing is to tell them that it's going to be like presented as a poster during this session, during these dates. And I'm not familiar with AMDA. Do they have like a print version? Will they include that or not? Because there was no mention of such thing specifically. Whereas in the AGS they mentioned that they're going to print it out. So if we tell them that this was accepted in a scientific session that's going to be presented, they can go ahead either. If they like it, actually, they can go ahead and print it in, like, even though it was presented or not, it's the choice for them.
Yeah, the issue is AMDA, they have the same approach. At least in the past, every abstract that's accepted, they have their own journal, and they will include that in the abstract list that they publish. So it will be published for the first abstract. they mention if we submit the result, it will be published by a due date, and I think we send it, so it will be published. So they have some condition, but in general, as a rule, AMDA, they accept the abstract and it will be published or printed. AGS, I think the same way. So I think the next step is to send an email to them saying that, hey, this abstract was accepted in AMDA and would like to withdraw it from you guys. If it hits them on the right time and they can do that, that's well and good. If it's already went to the reviewer or they accept it, then they will figure it out how to withdraw that and take it from the list. If they didn't accept it from the start, from the get-go, then we are on the safe side, so we don't have to even worry. And that brings up a good point when you are trying to submit an, not abstract, but when you submitting a manuscript, it's advised that you target one journal, you submit it, wait for them. If they reject, then you go to a different journal and do the same stepwise. Yeah, you don't submit the same manuscript to different journal at the same time. But in this case, I think the abstract, because we did not hear clearly from AMDA that they rejected the abstract, we hope that we hear like if they accept or reject, they will let us know. And AGS, the deadline was soon, so we did what we did for the abstract. But for the manuscript, I think it's advised that you submit your manuscript to the journal, wait for them until you hear back. They have the option of accepting or rejecting. If they reject, then you have the option to go to a different journal. And in fact, this is what happened to our article that we published recently. We submitted to a journal, and in 2 days they said, oh, we don't accept this in our journal. So good to know. We went to a different journal and they reviewed that and they accepted that. Thank you. Thanks, Marwa, for clarifying. Any other questions in this part or about the task? Every project team, they know what to do. Sumi, please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to add something for that.
Yes.
So what I know from my experience that I think when we submit abstract for AMDA, we waited sometimes and then we submitted the same abstract to AGS. So when we submitted our abstract to the AGS, we did not hear from AMDA, and basically they by this time they passed their deadline. So this is not violation of law, something like we should worry about, because everybody, whatever I saw from medical student or like a resident, basically they like, even me, for my, I was like the first author for 2 papers. So I submitted like 3 different journals, 3 different society, and I was waiting for them to like learn like who is going to accept. But only thing, if I heard from, let's say if I heard from AMDA and then I again resubmitted to AGS, that is violation. But here we did not hear from AMDA, and we submitted to AGS. When we submitted to AGS, we did not hear from MDA, so this is not violation. And I think we are authorized to, if both of them accept, we are authorized to like present both. But yeah, Dr. Nadir explained, as I agree with that. But for manuscript, we have to, when someone like say, okay, will not accept, then we jump into the another one. But for abstract, it is totally, I mean, I myself present in 2 society, let's say like ASCO, American Society of Clinical Oncology, and within 2 weeks, the same abstract accepted to like American Hematological Society. So then I email them, And they said, no, like when you accepted from ESCO, we did not know, like you submitted both. So I presented both abstract in both society, and it's not violation. So I think we are good. I just want to share my experience. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sami, for sharing. That's clarify things out. Thank you. Lubaba, go ahead.
That's really good. Yeah. So we do have 2 shots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question regarding the same issue. So we need to register to the conference to present. So they mentioned that for the non-members, there is a complimentary waiving of the fees, I think. This morning I tried to complete the task that they sent on the email. I'm just wondering if someone tried to do that, because I hit like a rock. I need to register, but I haven't got any coupon or anything that to waive registration. It's like a 450. So I'm just wondering.
Yeah. So in the past, when it was actual, you go to the meeting and then present in front of the actual poster. I think the university, it depends on how you handle it. For physician staff, they pay for travel and expenses and registration. I think for students also, they have grant to pay for that. In our situation, we have the grant, we have the money to pay for the registration. But again, the problem will be with how to do that for you guys. You are not staff and you are not student at MSU. So when I spoke to the division director or manager, they said if one is registered, in my case, I'm the staff and I'm registered, then that's enough. You don't have to ask the other student to register. And then when it's time to present, then they present whatever the way they present. You don't have to really be on registration form or something like that to be presenter. But I will clarify that with AMDA so that they will give me the account. Let's say I will create the account, and then they will ask for, let's say, a PowerPoint slide. So we will submit that, and then they will send us the link where we will join. Some of us will be as viewer, and then they will give an access to speaker. So we will share that speaker passcode, whatever. So between the 3 or 4 person that are presenting during the meeting. So you don't have to actually register for the meeting. But I might, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I think I received that link. Go in, there is like a speaker room or something for the speaker to familiarize themselves with the platform that we're going to use for the presentation. But with that, they mentioned that for non-members, speakers will have free registration. So I think we need to just email the manager who sent and clarify that with them. I'm just wondering if other members or other colleagues received the email, received what I received. It's like a login for yourself and a link. I think Marwa, you should get one of them.
Yes, I think me and Ali as well. I think whoever was mentioned as an author received the same email. And it's, as you said, I just briefly scanned through it, the speaker room and all of that, but I honestly didn't go through the details because I was trying to get the presentation ready.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'll be looking into it maybe in the coming days, and we can, as you said, after we understand the whole thing, we can either maybe send them an email just to clarify and check that we're good, we don't need to do anything, And that would be it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So
Go ahead, Sumi. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Lubaba.
sorry. We can touch base with each other, whoever received the email. I think Tomadur and Khalid should receive it as well. And see if no one heard anything from the manager, we can follow up on that email with clarification of how to register.
Okay, thank you, Sumi.
Yeah, I want to say like, can you guys register as a member? Because I think there is no membership fee, if I'm not wrong, or I'm not sure, as I got my membership fee through MSU email, because I have a MSU email as I'm a student, so I may be mixed it up, but I just want to make sure that can you register as a member? I feel like there is no
No,
membership
for
fee.
the AMDA, not the registration for the meeting, for the AMDA as a society. Students can join them, can be member for free. Did anyone besides Sumi become a member?
So this is what I tried at the beginning of the fellowship to register as a member, as a student, but they asked for an institution email.
Sure.
And I tried again. There is another way to register as a student. I tried again, but they asked for proof of the student at MSU and again as MSU email. So that's why I hit another rock.
Another rock. Okay, I hear you.
I got you, Lubaba. Yeah, I probably mixed it up because when they asked, probably I put my MSU ID, and because it's everything connected to my MSU ID. So that's why I want to clarify that I'm not wrong. But same thing like the email you got, I also got that to connect to their, and I think I was asked to get some action, like there are some DOI closer and all that. When probably Amara submitted the case report, yeah, my profile was not completed or something like that. So I did that yesterday because I was asked to complete it in 3 days or something. But the other rest of the part, I did not see it yet. I think we have to finish it by 25th or something. But yeah, they are asking as a speaker, we should practice or something like that. Like
familiarize yourself with the icons, with the button. It's like the Zoom, what we are doing now.
Actually, just one point, the due date actually the 15th to finish the tasks that they sent through the email, just to be aware of that.
So maybe perhaps today, tomorrow, try to solve this and let me know by tomorrow if we need to send an email to them or figure out how we can do that. So excellent. Thank you, everyone. Any other questions or any points or comments? Go ahead, Marwa.
I have a question, honestly, because, well, when we submitted the first time, they were like, we only were few, like 4 or 5. And then afterwards, when we submitted to AGS, more people were actually interested and joined forces to write the case report. So since it's going to be, I'm just want to clarify, we cannot modify the number of authors, right? So
No.
whoever was mentioned initially or joined initially is going to be there. Whoever was not is not going to have the chance, right? It's unfortunate, but I just wanted to know like the specifics.
Yeah, I don't think for for AMDA when you submit the names, I think these are the one will be presenting or involved. And then for the AGS, if you modify the names, then for that, if they get accepted, then the name listed for AGS will be involved or presenting.
Okay,
Some
get
of
it.
them.
I see, yeah.
And you can limit yourself, guys, into maybe 3 person, or like the medical student at MSU when they presented their abstract, or maybe 4. It depends on how you want to do that. And if same person in abstract number 1 also involved in abstract number 2, maybe you can just recuse yourself so that you give a chance for another member to present. So it's kind of teamwork. You want to share the chances or the opportunity for everyone to have a chance to present. Excellent. Any other questions, Sumi and Ali?
Okay. Just for future references, actually, I'm interested in Sumi's way of submitting for more than one journal or one society. Would it be a problem other than the fees and so on? Or if I submit for to 2 or 3 societies at the same time? Thank you.
So go ahead, Sumi, and then I will follow.
Thank you, Ali, for the question. I want to clarify that, for the abstract submission, yeah, if you don't hear back from one society, then you can submit, like 2, 3 society. As like, for an example, as Lubaba's paper, already she knew that it is accepted for AMDA. So that paper should not be submitted anywhere else. Or like Marwa's paper, case report already accepted from AMDA. So we should not submit anywhere else. But let's say like our Mulham, like the COVID paper, we still did not hear from any of those society. So now we can submit. Still there is a chance for the another society, like another 2, 3 or whatever, but the things are like, if already accepted, I think we are not supposed to submit anywhere else. That's how it works.
And just to clarify, the abstract or the talk, sometimes they just oral presentation. These are one category, and then the other category is publishing in a printed format in a journal. That's a totally different category. In certain situations like AMDA or ADS, whenever they accept the abstract, they automatically printed it. So it's easier for us to publish it basically in a printed format. So that's what difference. The oral or the abstract, sometimes they tell you we can accept your work as long as it's mentioned in other form platform or societies. If it's an important topic, as long as it's oral, you just talk about what you are doing and the concept of your project. And that doesn't matter for some societies if it's presented previously or not. In others, they will say if it's presented, no, we are not going to accept. As far as the printed format, if you want to write a paper like the ones that Khalid and Marwa was mentioning, you are submitting to an article. So when you submit, you are submitting to a journal, your manuscript or the article. Then you have to wait for them to get the rejection. At least this is my understanding. If you get the rejection, then you have the option to go another journal. Then you get the rejection. You repeat this process until you get accepted to a different journal. Because it's unfair for you to submit the same manuscript to dozen journal, and then all of them they accept you. And they print the same manuscript or publish the same paper in different. So this is not the way printing or submitting manuscript to journal works. Does it make sense? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Sumi, if you want to add, go ahead or have a question.
Yeah, I think for the concept is like, every journal wants to, publish something like new. So like, if you submitted, let's say like 2, 3 places, and then, already someone accept for the other, let's say MD already accept and they publish and then they print, and the same material or same concept, if, AGS submit and accept, and for them that is actually old, right? Because the information is not new, because it is already accepted, published, and printed, and people already know about it in the same concept you are trying to convey. So the whole idea is like, it should be supposed to be like new idea, new concept, and what you are saying. So if it is become like accepted somewhere, it is not considered as new. So then, like we should not like, they will not accept, and it should not fair for our side as well. So that's the whole thing, I guess. Like, it has something has to be like new and conceptual, and like, it should not be repeated in different journal, something like that. But for manuscript, that is for abstract, I think. And for there is two different things. One is abstract, one is manuscript. But manuscript, of course, you have to submit somewhere, and then you have to wait, like they will accept or not, until you can hear from them. If it is accepted, accepted, you don't need to submit anywhere else. If it is not accepted, then you go jump somewhere else. But you cannot submit like 2-3 places and the manuscript for sure. That's there is no way for that. So you have to submit one society, and then wait for them until you hear back from them. Then if they don't accept, then go to somewhere else. If they don't accept, that's all. So that's how it's supposed to be, I guess. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a good question. Any other questions or any other comments?
I just want to share with you this part of my presentation. You can go to this website. They have the specifications. Actually, AGS follow the guidelines. These guidelines, International Committee of Medical Journal Editors. So if you go to their website, you'll find the specifics about all of these we are talking about. They have the section. Honestly, I didn't read the whole thing. I read a specific part that I said earlier. They have guidelines about what is considered duplication, what is not. And I think if you search it like carefully about this part, you'll find definitely the answer. Thanks.
That's really great. Thank you, Marwa. And as we mentioned earlier, also when you target a journal, they have a guideline for their own authors submitting a manuscript to that journal. So for me, I want to submit my manuscript to certain journal. First thing I should do, go to their author guideline, and they will tell me what they will accept, will not accept, how do I do things so that they match whatever their criteria, and then they will take it from there. So one of them will be like clarifying we don't accept published material in the past, something like that, or printed material. Thank you, Marwa, for also sharing the link. Sumi, you want to add? Before that, Dalia also mentioned the purpose of keywords in research paper is to help other researchers find your paper when they are conducting research on the topic. Yeah, we mentioned that. Thank you, Dalia, for clarifying that as well. Sumi, you want to go?
No,
You're
I
welcome.
think from a previous thing. I don't want to add anything.
Okay, sure. Sure. Thanks. Any other questions or any other comments? Great. Thank you so much. So next section, how about the statistics? Who of you did the download the installment of the installation of the SPSS and work or played with it? Anyone did some work?
Marwa, you want to go ahead and talk about it, or?
Yes, I can share maybe my screen and just briefly tell you what I was able to do so far. Just bear with me. Okay.
In the meantime, I can share with you a funny story. So again, MSU, I asked them to get the SPSS for me, which is thankful they did, but they did for 1 month. So I installed the app, and then by February, I got the error mistake that my license is not valid or it's expired. So I have to check with them again to get that rolling again. Renew my license to use SPSS. So MSU works in a totally different way of things. Go ahead, Marwa, if you're ready.
Dr.
Yes, go
Nadia,
ahead.
I have a question in the meantime. Do you have any idea that for MSU, the student, is SPSS or any software is free?
I'm not quite sure if the students, for them it's free. I don't know, to tell you the truth. For the staff, the department sometimes pay for them, and sometimes they ask you to get it out of pocket. So in my case, I told them I want it because of the fund. They can pay out of that. So they said we will get it, and they got it for 1 month. I don't know why that it's for 1 month, but for the students, I'm not quite sure. I can find out and let you know. You can ask you have a contact person.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
can ask them and verify if it's free for students. In general, I know it's very cheap for the MSU like staff to have that.
Okay. So I should contact to my program coordinator probably. She might know.
She might know and might give you an access or the license number so that you can download it and use it. Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you, Swami. Go ahead, Marwa.
Okay, so after downloading the program, you will come to this view. So here at the bottom, you see the data view and variable view. So basically, the data view is just similar to Excel sheet. So here the variables, and here the specific for example, items like patients or whatever, like according to the number that you have. So if you would like to add a new variable to start a new project, for example, you come here to the variable view. Just a second. So you add the name of the variable. For example, you can say, I can just say one or two examples from what we have regarding the cardiovascular risk factors project. So I can say, for example, I can add the age. Here I can add, for example, ICU admission, and for example, hypertension. Okay. So we need to first set these variables, set the specifics about each of them. So the type of variable that we're gonna add is either 0 or 1. So it's gonna be a numeric. Okay, so we're gonna keep it that way. We're not gonna change that. If, for example, we're going to add names, okay, we're gonna change numeric here into string. Okay, for example, if you are stating, for example, names of I don't know, whatsoever. If it's like names, you have to change it to string. Otherwise, you keep it as numeric. The width, it depends on how long the variable is going to be. So in our case, it's just going to be 1, either 0 or 1. So we can reduce from 8 down. For example, we can say 6. In the age, for example, can be 2 numbers, 82, or even like if 100 is going to be 3. So you can modify that according to what you need, or you can just keep it as it's already set. So regarding the decimals, if you have like fraction, you're gonna need to use maybe more decimals. If not, you can put it as to 0. So for example, the age, there is no decimal here. So we're gonna be 0. There is no need to put any decimal. Regarding the ICU, it's either 0 or 1, our entry. So we can also reduce it to 0. And in this case, the hypertension as well. So regarding the label here, it's of value because when you enter the name of the variable, there are some restrictions in the SPSS. So you cannot, for example, add a space. So if you say age of patient, is going to be a problem. They don't recognize that, or just like it's not acceptable. You cannot add a space in the name of the variable itself. But if you have that, for example, ICU admission, you can add it to this part. Okay, so specific symbols or for example, like a space or something like this is not allowed in the name, is allowed actually in the label. So you can put the label, and actually when you show the results of your data, what's going to be shown actually can be the label. So if you would like to say, for example, ICU admission, okay, you can set it like that. Here you can say age. For example, here you can say hypertension. Okay, and the values here, actually we're adding the variable either the age-wise, we're gonna add the specific variables, the specific value of that variable. For example, age 62, we're gonna add 62. So we don't have like a key here. So this is useful in the case where we add ICU admission either as a 0 or 1. 0 being people who are admitted to ICU. People, 0 being those who were not admitted to ICU, and 1 being those who were admitted to ICU. So you can set it here as you say 0, the label equals not admitted to ICU. Okay, not admitted, you press add, and when you add, you can say admitted to ICU. And I can show you later on how it's gonna how you're gonna see that in your data view. Okay, you add that and you press OK. So you have this key. It's like a key for you to or for example, for anyone who come across your data, or like if you're sharing your data with anyone, they can understand actually what you mean by 0 and what you mean by 1. So for example, 0, you can say no hypertension. And for example, when hypertension, have hypertension. Okay. Okay, so we press add. I forgot to add it. So we press OK. We added these already. So there is no missing values. So we don't need to bother about these parts. And the type of input here, I think this is going to be scale because it's specific numbers. And here it's like the two of them, it's we can say nominal or ordinal according to the type of data specifically, with nominal being, for example, different categories like male, female, and ordinal being, for example, mild, moderate, severe hypertension, if we are putting it that way, or for example. So I think we need to set this as nominal. We leave this as a scale. So when we come to the data view here, we see the 3 variables that we added. Okay, we can, if you have, there is like the old method of, we can add the variables like 0, 1, 0, 1, it's gonna be exhausting. So what we can do actually is, can open just the Google Sheet that we have. And for example, we have the, where is the age? You can just press copy, and here in the age, press, paste. Okay, we have all the ages. Just mind this one. I'm going to show you what I can do about it. Regarding the ICU admission, so here it is. Just copy and paste. Okay, and then regarding the hypertension, what I did is actually copy and paste. I think there is an option of opening directly the file. For example, here, open or import data. We can import actually an Excel file directly, but for whatever reason, for me, they always say there is a problem, or when I press this, they tell me, when I choose this, they tell me it's empty or something like this. So I don't know what's wrong, but this is I would say this is the way that I thought of just getting the data easily. Okay, so this part was actually where the name of the variable was mentioned in our thing when we copied and paste. So we can just go ahead and clear this. So we have all the data that's here, and even double check here. The number is 838, which is the same number that we have. So we can just easily extract all our data and bring it here. Regarding what I was able to do is to use chi-square test to analyze, for example, the relationship between ICU admission and hypertension. I'm going to show you how we can do that. And I think we come here in the analyze part, in this here, and we choose descriptive statistics, and we choose from here the cross tabs. This way actually was what I'm doing actually was mentioned in a tutorial that I found online regarding the steps of how to conduct a chi-square test. I'm going to share it with you, maybe add it to the app or something like this. So here we need, in the rows and in the columns, we're going to choose either of the two. We can put this in the rows and in the columns, okay? And we need to set some of these things. So regarding the statistics, we're going to choose chi-square, and we're going to choose pi and k-mers. So you can use either of them, but this is what was suggested in the tutorial that I followed. So press continue. And regarding the cells, we choose here observed, keep it as observed. We choose, we check on these, the percentages, row, column, and total. So, and we keep it like this, round cell counts, continue. Here, if an important thing to do from the start is display clustered bar charts. So it's going to give us at the end of the analysis bar charts about showing the analysis itself. So I think we just click this from the start, and we're going to be, there was no mention about the other parts. There is no need to do anything about them. I think these are the things that we just need to set. And we just press OK. So this is the result of our analysis. As you can see, this is the number, the percentage, and they show you specifically, or like in more details, from those, like it's like similar to the 2x2 table that we already know, like those who have hypertension, no hypertension, and hypertension. This actually, as you may notice, this is the name of the variable, the label that we gave each
Marwa,
of.
maybe you can, we are still in the view for the data view.
Okay, do you see this?
No, can you?
Okay, just a second. Okay, I think I need to stop sharing the
Yeah,
screen
I think
first.
you can. Yeah,
And then, okay, just a few seconds.
sure.
Marwa, I think it's the same problem last time we had encountered. Yeah.
I think when you share the whole window instead the app.
Okay, okay. So can you see it now?
Now I can see it. Yeah, we can see it. Thanks.
Okay, so this is the result. Sorry for the technical thing. So here you can see the result of our analysis of the chi-square test. As you can see, it's similar to the 2x2 table, as I was saying. Those who had hypertension. Here the variable is hypertension. These are the labels that we gave, 0 and 1. which are our the data that we entered, and it's showing actually the percentage of those who have hypertension um, in relation to ICU admission or no. So what matters here is two things. I think they mentioned in the tutorial that one of the very important thing to look at is the Pearson chi-square, this value. As I said in the last meeting, I'm not sure about how significant this value is. Like, for example, can we say that there is a relationship between if there is a statistically significant relationship between having hypertension and being admitted to ICU or not? So it depends on our interpretation of this value here. So if we read more about the statistical test and what should be the cutoff value, what value is considered significant or not, then we can come to a conclusion regarding this one, because I'm not sure if this is represented the same way as the p-value, for example. So I cannot judge on it. And the other part is here, as you can see, the bar chart. From those who were not admitted to ICU and those, for example, who were in the ward, this number of people or this percentage actually did not have hypertension according to the to this, and those who actually had hypertension, and the same applies to those who were admitted to the ICU. So this is as far as I could take it, or as far as I could actually manage to learn. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. And thank you.
Once again, thank you so much, Marwa, for the tutorial or the demo. That's excellent, excellent work. Anyone has additional comments or?
I just want to say salute Marwa for what she did. That's really great. I did download the app, but I didn't get the chance to play with it. This is really very encouraging. So I'll spend the rest of the day on it. Yeah. Thank you so much. That's really great.
Excellent. So I'm gonna just share again with you to screen. So what I did, as Marwa mentioned, when you start with just an empty cell, and then if you have the variables, and then here we can say the record of the patient number. What you can do is just like Word or Excel file, you open the data, or you can import the data. So in my case, I'm gonna try to get it from Excel file. Okay, and then you go to the file, you upload the file where you have it. I have it somewhere in, let's say, abstract, submit it, or somewhere. So you identify where is the file first. In my case, it's user owner documents test. Okay, let's go. Recent. Okay. So Marwa did the. This is the data. For instance, we have the age, and we have patient and in the ICU. No, I mean length of stay in the ICU, and patient who are expert, similar to the way 1 means they died and 0 means they are alive, something like that. You can use a key to figure out which one. Same here for the ICU. 0 means they were not admitted to the ICU. 1 means they admitted to the ICU. And you can go for any variable from the Excel sheet that we were working on. So first thing, you go to open file if the data is there, or import file if it's in different format like Excel format or other type of format. Once you have the data available, then you can manipulate what you want to do. Let's say I want to do the analysis. So you go to the analysis, and then you have a lot of things you can do. But for this part, maybe you can just work on getting certain reports or getting certain descriptive analysis or comparison analysis. You want to compare the mean, you want to compare some, let's say you want to do one-way ANOVA test, then you go to whatever test, t-test, for example, one sample t-test, you can go there and then do that. You can look at the videos. So in Excel itself, you can do t-test with the data. So you don't have to go through SPSS to do a t-test because it's a simple way of doing analysis. But the good thing about SPSS is that when you do it, let's say I do it now, t-test about whatever ICU and then hypertension, something like that. I say, okay, it will do the t-test, whatever. Then you will get the p-value and you analyze the data. But the beauty about the SPSS is that it show you the steps that behind the screen, what the SPSS did for you, the stepwise. I did t-test, right? So what it did, it get the value, it gets analysis, it gets the age, it gets whatever steps. So for me, let's say I want to do it again. So I don't have to go again and say analyze t-test and the same steps because it's already written here. What I need to do, I can just highlight this section and then say run the code, and it will run it again. If I have a similar data from another Excel file, I will open Excel file, the new one, and then I will come here. I will tell the SPSS to run the same data from this new file and run the t-test for this ICU hypertension, something like that. So you don't have to do the same steps many times. It records what you are doing, and then when you want to do it again, you just go back to the coding part. That is helpful to some people who are working with data like repeatedly. That's one feature of SPSS. The second thing is you can create a graph, as Marwa mentioned. After you're done with the analysis, it will get the graph for you. In Excel, you can get the graph if you have the detail of the data. Like if you have the age and then the sex, you can get a graph comparing the age to the gender. Or in her case, ICU versus hypertension, you can get the graph from Excel the same way. So SPSS will help you with advanced features when you play with it, but some of the things can be done in Excel, and some of the video up there, they will show you how you do it in Excel. But for now, let's review some of the videos about SPSS, how we can achieve what we want to from the data that we have. Does it make sense for you guys, or I'm overwhelming you? Any questions? Thank you again, Marwa, for demo.
No, thank you, Dr. Nadir. I mean, that is really helpful. And also, I want to mention one thing that, as Marwa mentioned, this SPSS is 1 month. It's a demo for free. So what we decide, like we yellow to me, Marwa, Mulham, and our other colleague. So we all are not going to upload the SPSS in the same month. So what our idea is, as Marwa already upload, so then next month probably when her time will expire, so some of us from the yellow team will upload and then we'll learn, and that's the idea. But in the meantime, I will try to learn that it is free for the student or not. But I'm just suggesting that all of the member from green team, red team, any of you, like I think one person can upload in a month, so then you all can learn and share, and the next month the other person. So by that way, like 4 months, you guys can use all together subsequently. I think that's a good idea. Just want to share with all of you. So that's what we are doing, like as a YOLO team. Thank you, Dr. Nadir.
Thank you, Sami, for sharing. That's also a great way of being efficient as far as using the free version. Thanks. So if you have time, look at the videos, and the demo tutorial will guide you in a stepwise manner. It will make life easier because most of the things that you want to do, someone else did in the past, and if they can share that, makes life easy for you to do it quickly instead of struggling. Good. Any other questions or any other comments? Any suggestion for next week? Do we have a topic or things? Go ahead, Ali.
I'm sorry, but regarding Marwa's concern about Pearson correlation or chi-square, I think the value she mentioned, it's a p-value, it's the same as p-value, and it's significant statistically. Am I correct?
Go ahead, Marwa.
Sorry, I'm not sure, but I think at least it can be. We can say this is the equivalent to it, if not the p-value itself. So this is the value that you can judge upon it if the what you have what I would say the relationship between the two is statistically significant or not. But I'm not sure if this Pearson correlation is equivalent to p-value or not. Honestly, I'm not sure. Sorry.
Me too, I'm not sure. But it's a good question. Maybe you can find it out, and by next week you can, or maybe tomorrow you can share with the group and let us know, or let me know. Maybe send me an email. I'm not a statistical guru, so I just used the SPSS a while ago, and I used it in a data collection manner. So I was collecting data for a big center, and we use it for getting all the information from the charts and then analyzing that, and from some software, so adding clinical information beside imaging reports, information and analysis, and then we compare and analyze and submit abstracts. That was a while ago. Since then, I didn't use it. All right. Any other questions or any other suggestions, comments?
Yes, I have a suggestion for the next week. Maybe if someone present to us like is specific about how to write a title, a research title, and also an abstract. Put in the same presentation, just like to finish the whole paper and how to structure it and the phrases, wording, grammar, as Marwa mentioned. I think this would be great.
Excellent. Anyone wants to volunteer for that? Maybe a couple. So selecting the title is important. So there are a couple of ways to do that. So maybe someone can help with that. There are some videos, maybe there are some articles on the topic. If someone can look at that and present similar way to Khalid and our presentation. I would add also, if Khalid mentioned the how to put the abstract together. I think putting the abstract together in a form of the manuscript, not the abstract. That's the way we submit it to AGS or AMDA, the abstract for the manuscript. I think that comes at the end of your writing part. So you start with what you think you are writing about, and then make an introduction, and then a literature review, and then your methods and results. This is the way you think about. After you've done all this, you come to the conclusion, and if it's valid and you think you will benefit the work, then you put the conclusion, the discussion part and the conclusion part. After you're done with all this together, then it comes to the time of submitting a short version of all this together in a one-page kind of what we call the abstract. So I think that might come at the end of the discussion or education part of how to write, unless one wants to discuss it right from the beginning. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe we can just go with whatever best goes logically with our presentation. If we did introduction, maybe methodology, background, or
so what I suggest is one part, well, if someone wants to do the title part, that might be a good thing if you want to think about it. If someone volunteers to look at how we build the title. The next part in logic is literature review. If someone, maybe the same person or two person, can discuss about how we do the literature review, how we get the background information in a topic to highlight the significance of our topic, and then identify the gap. So these are the two things in the introduction, and we need to get the support from the literature review. So there are ways of doing literature review. So maybe someone can highlight these ways for us and make it easier. If that's acceptable for you guys, maybe one or person or two person can volunteer for next week to do about or talk about how we put a title or create a title. And that also can be changed down the road. Like when you build your stuff, your title might be something when you begin, but at the end, when you finish the whole thing, your title might change a little bit according to what you find in your paper. So maybe one person can talk about how you select your title, and then someone how you do literature review. Any volunteers? Unless you want to do something else, that's also an option. Any suggestions? Somi?
No, I think it's from previous time. Sorry.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah, I don't.
So I thought you are volunteering. Okay.
Yeah, if you want me to do, I can do it.
No, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think it's a simple task. If you are not busy, maybe you can do it. If someone else wants to participate and do, that's also, or maybe you join team.
Dr. Nadir, probably next week, actually, I'm sorry, I probably will not be able to do it. Unfortunately, my
That's fine.
previous mentor from MSU, he recently diagnosed with stage 4 sarcoma. So I'm fundraising for him, and then I will be in Grand Rapids, actually.
I'm
So
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, but yeah, Anyone else wants to maybe as Dalia?
I think I can help. The problem is the whole time probably I'll be not there, but I can help in between, or I can prepare slides with someone, something like that.
So as I raised her hand and Dalia sent the text, go Azza first. Thank you, Sumi.
Hi.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I can do the how to create a title.
Thank you. Dalia, you want to add?
Yep, I will do the literature review.
Excellent. So Azza and Dalia, maybe you can work on that. And if Sumi have some time, maybe she can help you guys. That's
Sure.
great. Great. Excellent. Thank you so much. Really appreciate. And again, if someone has downloaded the SPSS, maybe you can work on demo for like just Marwa did 5 minutes or so on how you do things so that people can get familiar. In the meantime, if you are on a team, maybe you can work as a team with your version and discuss in your WhatsApp group. Excellent. Any questions, any suggestion, any comments, anything that you want to share before we adjourn or end the meeting?
I would like to partially answer Ali's question. I was looking it up regarding the how to get the p-value from a chi-square test. So actually, there is a formula. The p-value does not equal the Pearson chi-square value that we got. So there is like even like a website that can calculate that for you. You need the chi-square score, which is a Pearson chi-square, the number that we had, which was 0.025 in our case. And there is another thing that is needed, which is called the degree of freedom. And there is like, I think we can look into ways of calculating that. So if we have these two variables, and depending on the significance level that we want, for example, 0.05, they can calculate directly the p-value.
Excellent. Thank you for looking that up, Marwa.
Welcome.
Excellent.
Thank you. Thank you, Marwan.
Thank you, everyone. And I'd like to thank everyone for your participation and sharing and caring. Good work. Good job, Marwan, Khalid. Thank you. And we expect Azza and Dalia to do a great job as well. Thank you in advance. Thank you for presenting and submitting your work, and congratulations on these two abstract. Maybe the next step is to work on creating the slides and work on projects with the team and project leader about how you do that practice. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nadia.
Have a wonderful day or night.
Thank
you.
you.
You too.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Have a great
Goodbye.
day.
A nice weekend.
Goodbye.
Have a nice weekend, guys.